So it appears that Ian Foster and a few other of my Kiwi bros have upset a few people by some of the comments they've made around that South Africa island game and how boring it was. Well, I'm a Kiwi, so I'm going to throw my 2 cents worth into this conversation as well. You can check that right out here on this video. Hello everyone, welcome to Inside Rugby. My name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan living here in beautiful, wet Cancun in Mexico today. So it's lovely to come back with another video. And this video has actually been inspired by one of my subscribers who lives in South Africa, Chanel Baku. Thank you for writing your email. It's inspired this video today. And it's on that very conversation or topic around the comments made by some of my fellow Kiwis. Yes, Ian Foster, Sir John Kerwin and Jeff Wilson seem to have upset a few people around the world when it comes to their comments about how boring the game between Ireland and South Africa was. Well, I don't agree with their stance, of course, and I wanted to make a video for us to, I guess, share some more respectful comments and thoughts around this particular topic. First of all, those three gentlemen are paid to do a job. They're paid to, I guess, engage an audience, and also coaches are pretty well known in Rugby World Cups to throw lines out there to try and get the pot stirred up a little bit, and I think that's exactly what's happened in this situation. Now, I've never met Ian Foster, Sir John Kerwin or Jeff Wilson, so I'm not in a position to say whether those gentlemen are arrogant or not, and I'm not going to do that because I don't prejudge people, but you can take on board whatever you feel about their comments. What I'm going to say here on my channel is that I think some of the games at this year's Rugby World Cup have been extremely entertaining for all kinds of different reasons. And if we look at that Ireland versus South Africa game, it's probably the #1 game for me so far in this year's Rugby World Cup. I think it was a great example of intense, top-level, world-class test rugby played between two awesome rugby-playing nations who are at the top of their game at the moment. And I just think it was a great example for the game and for a rugby purist to really appreciate what was going on between those two teams. Now, the All Blacks, of course, and New Zealand rugby in general have been built around a DNA of running and open play rugby. I'm a Kiwi, I played rugby at school, and our coaches were absolutely hell-bent on making sure that we ran the ball and we scored as many tries as we possibly could. So something else that goes into this conversation is our rugby DNA, and New Zealanders in general are a culture that believes in that type of rugby. We also attract a lot of Pacific Islanders to our country to live. I had a lot of Pacific Island brothers in my rugby team at school, and they aided us in playing a very open style of rugby, and we absolutely loved it because it got us fitter and it kept us going forward, and that's the kind of rugby that we enjoyed playing. Does it mean that I don't appreciate good kicking strategies and kicking games in rugby? No, not at all. And I've admired England in this Rugby World Cup, and as I've got to watch more of their play, I think they are a team that could really go nearly all the way in this year's Rugby World Cup, and I'll talk more about that in my quarterfinal preview videos that'll be coming up next week on my channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button to stick around for those videos that'll be coming out next week. So yeah, getting back to the topic, I think in this year's Rugby World Cup we've seen a lot of different styles of play. Another game that comes to mind is the game between Georgia and Portugal. I thought that was a fantastic game of open running rugby, but also smart kicking and a lot of different styles of play played within one game of rugby, and it ended in an 18-point draw, and it was a fascinating game to watch. And here's two lesser playing rugby nations taking it to each other at a Rugby World Cup, and that's what I've really enjoyed about this year's Rugby World Cup as well. A lot of people think that these games against the smaller nations by the big tier nations are pointless. I happen to disagree, because I think it's one of the ways that we can be growing international rugby and also inspiring a lot of the next generation to come along. And that's what I think I get out of these games the most, because when little girls and boys see these rugby heroes playing at the highest level in a Rugby World Cup, Well, it ends up being like what Morocco did at the World Football Cup. They come out and they stun everybody and they go a long way in the tournament, and I'm sure that's going to happen in one of these tournaments in the not too distant future. And we've already seen what Fiji can do in this year's Rugby World Cup. So I think those games at some level are very, very good, but it doesn't distract from the fact that I think World Rugby needs to invest more in those countries to make the game go to the next level. So getting off point there for a second, but the whole reason I wanted to make this video was to say that, look, not all Kiwis are arrogant and ignorant, and if that's how you judge Ian Foster and the others, then that's on you. But I think we all say a lot of things sometimes that we probably regret. Just look at some of the comments on my channel here about the different games and the different teams. So I think there's a respect. I know from myself, I respect all of the rugby teams that are playing in this year's Rugby World Cup. I respect the way they're playing the game, as long as it's within the laws and they're doing everything they can to adhere to those laws, and they're playing the style of rugby that will win them games, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. You've got to play against the opposition in a way that's going to win you that game. And if that's by using a kicking strategy, by using intensive forward play, or by running rugby and getting through the defensive line, then that's up to you. But the game here is all about winning the Rugby World Cup, and how you go about that, as we've seen in previous years when the All Blacks have won the Rugby World Cup, when South Africa's won the Rugby World Cup, when Australia's won the Rugby World Cup, and when England has won the Rugby World Cup. We've seen all kinds of different styles be successful throughout the tournament, and I think that's the one thing to remember here as well. So yes, as a Kiwi, I probably find the comments of Ian Foster, Sir John Kerwin and Jeff Wilson out of place in that context, based on my own beliefs. But again, these are my own beliefs and opinions that I'm sharing here on my own channel. They have their own platforms in which they share, and they have their own reasons why they put out those comments into the public domain. But as far as watching rugby here on my Inside Rugby channel, you're going to get as much of a neutral view as I can possibly give from a Kiwi perspective. In fact, I think a lot of people watching today are going to be probably surprised with the video I'm going to put out about the All Blacks quarter-final chances and what's going to happen in that game. You can tune in and see that here next week on my channel. So hit the subscribe button, give the video a little thumbs up, and stay connected to me here on Inside Rugby, because there's still a lot to go in this year's Rugby World Cup. Another game coming up today between France and Italy. That's going to be a hell belter as well from Lyon, and I'm interested to see whether Italy can bring their own style of rugby back into this game. Perhaps an opportunity we didn't get to see against the All Blacks for all the reasons we all know. And it's going to be interesting to see what style of rugby France bring today against Italy. Are they going to go for that open style play, or are they going to try and beat Italy up front in the forwards and make it a very strong game through the forward pack? It's going to be interesting to see. So as you can see, there's always lots of styles of rugby to talk about. There's also lots of different ways that we can communicate that, and perhaps some people in some circles need to be reminded of that sometimes. So thanks again for tuning in here to Inside Rugby. I just wanted to have my point of view put across on that topic, that conversation around what Ian Foster said, and perhaps that not all Kiwis are built the same. That's probably the message I wanted to get across in this video. Okay, time for me to go and get ready for some more rugby. So I want to wish all my best wishes to you all out there. Chanel, thank you very much for sending me that email and inspiring this video. Continue enjoying the World Cup, everybody. I'll be back again soon with another series of videos. Until then, stay well, stay safe, and enjoy your rugby. Bye for now.